Hey, folks, and welcome back to Reaction Bite Radio. We've had a bit of a hiatus, but we're back and we're going to try to go strong here week after week. Hopefully, this is your host, Kevin Postlewaite, and your co host,
Joy Price.
We are here today with Dustin Hollen, Conservation Director for West Virginia Bass Nation and local tournament Stick. He whooped up on us here a little while ago, and he's having a good year so far. So, Dustin, how's it going?
It's a good one. Thank you guys for having me on here.
Yeah, always good to hear from you. We wanted to get you on here for a while, and timings was tough. One of the conflicts we had was the Bassmaster Classic. As a conservation director, you have to go to the Bassmaster Classic for their conservation program. Give us a little bit of a rundown on what that's like and what all they had you doing there at the Classic, because I know it wasn't just go and watch the Classic guys fish. It was go and do some studying and learning and all that good stuff. Tell us a little bit about how that goes.
We actually went down, me and one of the fisheries biologists, Aaron Yeager. We went down to the conservation summit. We got there a day early. We had meetings every night, every day. So I didn't really get to do much of the watch the guys fish at all. If you ever been to a Classic, there's so much stuff there. It's hard to see it all, do it all, be at every place. We actually went to the takeoff the first morning. I've never been to a takeoff, and it's a lot of people there, but it was a good time. So we started having these classes with different fisheries biologists around the country, from Florida, California, everywhere. And most of the talk this year was invasive grass in different places, like floating hyacinth and all that stuff, choking out lakes. And they had both sides of the stories. They had the guys that wanted grass sprayed, and they had the guys that didn't want the grass sprayed. So it was interesting to listen, because some of that stuff, it seems like it gets to a certain point before it gets real bad. Sometimes, most of the time, it's good, and there's different ways of treating it. I'm not a biologist by no means, but some of this stuff, like hydrilla, every bass fisherman pretty well loves hydrilla.
Right.
We have hydrilla here. It's not supposed to be here.
Right.
And it always starts at the boat ramps.
Right. Yeah.
Because people don't clean their boats.
Yep.
However, there was something really cool that they shared. This one particular lake, I don't even remember the name. They actually had a map of the different grasses inside that lake, hydrilla being one of them, and it wasn't spreading. They had no reason to try to get rid of it until it got to a certain point. One thing that helps us here is our drawdown. That kind of keeps the hydrilla that is here now from spreading.
Yeah, getting out of control.
If people clean their boats and
if they're saying it's here, but we're not going to do anything about it because it's not that bad yet.
What I'm saying is our drawdowns on our lakes prevent it from spreading so far. So if it's only just a little bit, it's not a concern right now, from the way I understood it.
Oh, this perspective, I guess.
When it gets to where it's like choking up your boat lanes and all that stuff, then it's a problem.
I have an anecdotal story about Santee Cooper Lakes. Santee Cooper, of course, is one of the premier bass fisheries in the U.S., but for a while it had a real downturn. And what people don't realize is that downturn coincided with them killing all the hydrilla. And now that eelgrass and hydrilla is coming back pretty thick down there, and the bass fishing is phenomenal at the moment.
Yep.
So grass and bass go hand in hand. And I know these power generating lakes especially hate the grass because it gums up their machinery, right, and costs them a lot, right, of money. Like, for instance, Santee Cooper is owned by the Santee Cooper Power, or whatever it's called now, and they hate the hydrilla because of the wear and tear on the equipment, but the bass fishermen love it because it holds big bass and
right,
a lot of forage and places for them to spawn, all that kind of stuff. So it goes hand in hand as far as environmental versus the economic factors of it all. It's interesting that they're talking about grass, and you fish the Ohio River some too, and the eelgrass and stuff has been back for several years now, and fishing's getting better.
Right.
The smallmouth bite is really good right now.
Well, I was amazed at the weigh in there the other day, 17 pounds.
Yeah, 17 pounds. One of 16 pounds finished second. It took 11 pounds, I think, to get a check.
Yeah.
The top 9 out of 70 some boats.
That's wild.
Yeah,
right,
for a year, it's unheard of. And that was a bag of smallmouth. That wasn't
right,
even a mixed bag. So that's exciting. It's exciting for us here.
And something I was, of course, I had a ride down there with a biologist and a ride back, so we got to talk a lot. I was questioning what native species we could plant or try to plant to have some stuff in like Stonewall Jackson, Burnsville, because you see these cages around. We've tried it before, and it kind of just we let it go and haven't really revisited. However, there was some guys. I think it's the Two Bald Guys podcast, the sticker I gave you.
Yeah.
We talked. They were talking to, I believe it was Florida in this meeting, and how they build their cages around there. Of course, Florida, they got alligators tearing up their cages where they plant this grass. The main thing is how they built their cages. They actually dig down and build like a fence underground so the turtles don't get in there. Because the turtles will go in there, I guess, and eat all your grass.
I never thought about the turtles being the problem.
Right.
That's funny.
Right. So I would like to try to maybe revisit some of that stuff and try that and maybe build them fences down a little bit and see if we can't find something. And I don't know whether it's water willow or whatever's native. They didn't like the idea of planting cypress trees up here. I know they grow here. But I would like to find something that we could get started in the lake to where we don't have to go down and throw 400 pine trees in every Christmas.
Right.
I fished several sets of those pine trees and have caught up to 3-pounders off of them and almost a muskie off of one of them this year already.
Oh, that's good.
So,
So at least
I've
fish are
got
using
word that people's catching fish off of them. So it's good. It's working.
So is the location of those pine trees public?
I don't know about Stonewall yet or Stone Coal. I do know on Summersville Lake, if you go on the West Virginia DNR page, there's actually a fishing map. You can get on there and zoom in on it. It actually has like all the depth lines and everything, and you'll see all these orange dots. And those orange dots is where they've done some sort of structure, dropped a whole tree in there or something. When they do that, they send in these GPS coordinates and they update them to the system.
Load them up.
So I know Summersville. I don't know about the other lakes yet, but I'm sure they're going to be putting them on there.
I was just curious.
Because the DNR has to get the permits to even do that stuff.
Yeah, because these are Corps of Engineer lakes, right? So they have to get permits from the Corps. Is that right?
I don't know where they get their permits from. Stone Coal is not an Army Corps of Engineers lake.
Okay.
I believe Harrison Power owns Stone Coal Lake.
Okay.
I know they've dropped several structures throughout that lake, but we mainly just put them right there around the boat ramp to draw people down there, crappie fish, bluegill fish, whatever.
Yeah.
They're not just for bass. They're for fish.
A lot of times the bass are coming there to eat the panfish, the crappie, and bluegill, and all that stuff.
Right. It draws in the minnows. It draws in. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. A whole food chain goes through there.
Yes.
I know it's Stonewall, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Are we done with the Classic? Is that pretty much, does that wrap up the Classic? Anything else from the Classic?
Gene Gillian announced that he was retiring.
Yeah, I heard that. He's been there forever.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, there wasn't a dry eye in the room whenever he announced that.
It was kind of a shock. Nobody knew that was coming.
I don't think he had told anyone.
Yeah, he's going to work his whole year, and they'll find a replacement, and they're not going to just throw somebody in there. But
right. Yeah, Gene's he's been at it a long time. Man, he's done wonders for conservation, for bass fishing and fishing in general, conservation in general. He's a legend.
But it was very nice to meet him, and all the conservation directors and biologists from all over, and they all they're all habitat guys, and you can't have enough of it.
Which leads to some of the projects that you've been working on or have done, and then the process of doing others. Tell us about some of that, because I know you've been a busy guy.
Yeah, I've been real busy. We started, my goal was to get 400 pine trees in before the end, Christmas time's the time to get pine trees. So, if my wife went shopping somewhere and it was almost Christmas and everybody had their sales on, and I pull up and seen Christmas trees still standing there, I go in and ask them, hey, I have your Christmas trees?
Yeah.
Home Depot and Clarksburg donated us several trees. Tractor Supply in Weston, Lowe's and Buchanan. Then the DNR got a couple hundred. We put out 200 Christmas trees in one day.
That's
4
awesome.
different locations. So had around 20 volunteers show up. It was a good day.
Great. Yeah, and a lot of those, they're using those for West Virginia, is it hunting and fishing days or something like that?
So the ones we started on was down around the resort. There's a little cove where they take all the kids and their little youth challenge for the fishing part. There was nothing there. It was just a bare bank, and it's hard to, you can catch a bunch of green sunfish maybe here and there. Now there's a bunch of pine trees there that
You catch a bunch of pine trees. Someone's going to do a lot of retying on that day, aren't they?
Oh yeah, but there is 3-pound bass and muskie right there. I can promise you that. But yeah, that was the start of it. Then we went to the Jacksonville end of Stonewall Jackson, and unfortunately, somebody stole all the block and the pallets that the DNR threw out there.
That's awful.
What? What do you mean?
We carried out all the trees. Of course, there was a little bit of standing timber there and some laydowns and stuff. We went out there and zipped it all down to what was there already. We had to do what we needed to do. So the block place, trying to think of the name of it. I forget it all the time since they changed it from Alcon. But anyways, I'll think of it after we get off here, probably. Anyways, they donated the block to the DNR, just like the red square blocks, and the DNR took it down there and dropped it off early, because they knew we was going to have this project coming up.
So it was in the parking lot somewhere.
It was, yeah. They actually put the pallets and the pine trees and kind of didn't really show they had to work to get it, but yeah, they took every bit of it.
Wow.
Yep, all but the trees. I actually had people stealing Christmas trees from. I say stealing, they took them.
What's the difference?
Well,
donated Christmas trees.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring them back. I don't know.
Maybe they planted them somewhere else in the lake. I don't know.
Well, there was snow on the ground, and you could see where people walked up and grabbed these Christmas trees in a pile at Vandalia boat ramp and took them.
Maybe they thought they were there to put in the lake at their fishing spot.
Well, I guess people feed them to their goats. I did not know this.
I didn't either.
What?
So when I went to get them at Tractor Supply in Weston, there was actually a guy come in there and bought a whole bunch of them after they told me I could have them all.
I'm looking it up.
Oh,
yeah.
Feed the goats. Well, goats will eat anything. That doesn't surprise me.
Right, but I guess it's like candy to them. I don't know. That's just what I heard, but I didn't know that.
I'm consulting Dr. Google.
That's funny. She's going to check us out.
Yes, goats can eat pine trees, and they often enjoy eating the needles, bark, and branches, which can act as a natural dewormer. While commonly eaten, pines should be provided in moderation to avoid potential toxicity issues. Ensure the trees are free from chemicals, fertilizers, or decorations. That is the first thing that popped up on Google.
That's right. You learn something new every day. That's why I love this podcast. You never know. We just learned, we're talking about bass fishing. We learned that goats eat pine trees. I had no idea.
And that they're a natural dewormer.
A natural dewormer. So,
well, if they're going to eat
a bunch of trees and a bunch of worms, that's really disgusting.
If we're going to eat these trees, they better learn how to swim. That's all I got to say. We went from Jacksonville to Vandalia and put a bunch in down over the bank from it, in a little cove there as far as we could get out, Then we went to the Upshur County end of Stone Cold and put a bunch out around the boat ramp there. There's still a bunch of Burnsville we got to put out too sometime. So what we may do is sometime this summer, if they get the boat, they have a boat that has the deck on the front of it actually drop stuff in there. It's for that. So we might venture there and do that. But as far as dropping pine trees, we had a good start. We ain't done yet. I mean, we still go drop brush, they'll cut trees down. They're doing a bunch of excavation work down at Summersville. I don't know if you guys seen that on their page.
I did.
That's the same guy, Aaron, the same guys that went to the Classic with me. So
that's really helped Summersville quite a bit.
Population in there exploded.
Yeah, a place for them to get to, and
right.
It's good. It's great.
We just did a trash cleanup too at Burnsville, 19th, I think. But we got 35 trash bags, 22 tires, a gas tank, and a bench seat in just no time. So, we did a lot, but you could do that all day for a long time on all these lakes and still not.
It's really amazing how much stuff flows into them from the rivers above them. And that builds up the silt and everything else. So, it's all bad for bass. It happens in the High River, a whole lot.
Well, and then when it floods, it puts it all up in the woods. So a lot of people don't even think to look up there because they're worried about the lake. You got to worry about all the critters out of the lake as well.
Yeah, that's true. There's a fine grass in the head of Burnsville near the campground. I don't know what that stuff's called, but it holds fish throughout the summers.
Up there at the Bulltown ramp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already grown.
It's already grown now.
It's really green.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a fluorescent green right now. It's wild.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of grass that is, but there's some of it at Summersville too that grows up in McGee's Creek and all that. But it's I don't know what it is. It comes back. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll ask him about that and try to find out an answer.
Yeah, I'd like to know because it was never there before, and it's been there the last 5 years or so. But it's real fine.
Are you talking between the boat ramp and the swimming area?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The big flat right there.
Yeah, that big flat right there, and there's some stuff there, and then those points up above past the marina on the right. I don't know what it's called, but it also stinks real bad. Stuff is real stinky.
Well, okay, I know what you're talking. It's in Tigard as well. I call it skunk grass.
Yeah, it's real stinky grass, but holds fish sometimes.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah,
but
it's like a sand grass or something.
Yeah, it's a real fine, weird grass. It's the only place I've ever seen it.
And hopefully, with talking about the grass again, I told him if they would find like maybe some different native species that can grow in our waters here, maybe I could get with the high schools that have hydroponics or their ag classes and maybe try to get them in all these different areas or all these different schools to maybe do those as projects. And then all we got to do is transport them to our lakes and
if they grow them, we could transplant them and see if we could get it going. That'd be great. It's a great idea. Grass is good for bass. That's for sure.
It is.
They love it. West Virginia is in that weird section where we don't have a lot of grass. You go north, you have grass. You go south, you have grass. You go to West Virginia, you have no grass. I don't understand.
Right.
I guess it's the Highland Reservoir and the rock and all that. But like you said, our water fluctuates and that changes things. But
I was going to say, I think it's the drawdown and mostly that hurts us.
Yeah, but even... some of these things that stay up don't have a whole lot of grass. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, Stonewall probably doesn't fluctuate as much as all these other lakes, and it's still hard to get grass in there.
Yeah, it's crazy. The grass grows better on the Ohio River than it does in the lake.
Right. So as far as the classic goes and the Christmas trees and trash cleanups, and I mean we can always do those whether it's winter or summer. It would be good to do a lot more of that when it's drawdown time and it's cold and there's nothing else going on and you can go down.
A good late fall project, wouldn't it? The fall we get in the hunting season, so that really messes with things a little bit.
Well, you can hunt for lures.
That's true. Julie likes to do that.
I do.
As soon as I hopped off the boat at Burnsville the other day, I found a brand new 6-cent jerkbait.
Wow, nice.
Bo instantly stole it from me, but
I don't blame them. Those things are pretty good. They're not cheap either.
No, they're not.
We were going to talk about the fish release.
We were going to talk about the fish release. So conservation with Bass Nation, you've done the Christmas trees, done the cleanup and all that. But you also, at every tournament, your job basically is to help keep the fish alive. And we've done two things this year, I think, that is pretty exciting. The Piranha02 system. I really like the oxygen system we have now. For any tournament organization that doesn't know what it is, what's it called? The Piranha02? Is that what it's called?
Cuda.
I think, isn't it called the Cuda?
The Cuda. Okay, Cuda. There you go.
The Piranha is the smaller one.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Piranha's the smaller one. The Cuda's the bigger one. We have the Cuda system. It's just basically fresh oxygen to the fish into the tanks. You don't have to do anything. It's almost like a little generator that sets up. It just works overtime, separating the CO out of the oxygen, whatever it is. Carbon dioxide, right? Carbon dioxide out of the oxygen. Yeah. Go back to high school.
It's a whole lot easier to set up than the old system.
Yeah,
I can tell you.
Yeah, the old tanks, having to adjust all the tanks and make sure you don't over oxygenate your fish and have them all die. The old tanks, you had to stay there and keep the right pressure because the pressure would change as the tank depleted, right? So you had to kind of constantly mess with that dial. If you gave them too much oxygen, it would kill them all. This comes straight out, the good stuff, right out of the gate. So had no idea.
This is the good stuff. Why can't you give them too much of the good stuff?
Too much of the good stuff, and they don't have anything. They're just breathing straight oxygen. I can't tell you why. It's like a little fish bubblers. I don't know the science of how it works, but it works good.
You stick your any risk?
No. They told it. Hook it up, put the stones in there like you do in a fish tank almost.
Just like an aquarium.
Just like an aquarium, those big bubble stones, and I can promise you, stick those fish in there. I did it at Cherokee. My fish they'd been in there all day. And I stuck the bag in that tank where those bubbles are. Man, they just come alive. Good stuff. They love it. Yeah. So that's been good. Good for the fish, good for the organization, keeping fish alive and all the other treatment stuff. So what goes into treating those fish, Dustin?
We've been throwing salt in. Not a lot, just it can't be the iodine salt, but just a little bit of salt. Some people use G-juice, and I'm just big with trying to keep the water temperature what they come out of. Got to add a little ice or make sure they stay upright. I've noticed something. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but when you put the non-penetrating call tags on these fish, especially smallmouth, and I don't know why it's smallmouth, but have you ever opened up your live well and they're upside down with a call tag? They're still alive.
Yeah.
And it's not that they need fizz. I don't know what. So I end up taking it off and they're like, poof, they're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. We just did that
a
couple weeks ago.
And if you get that on their tongue, they die.
Yeah. They don't do well with that call tag on their tongue. I don't know what it is.
No.
You got to make sure you keep it under.
That'll kill them in a hurry.
Yeah, it's weird.
Anytime we have a fish not doing well, the first thing we do is take that non-penetrating.
Yeah. I'm kind of like starting to stray away from them and just like put it in them to find out which one's the smallest one and then take it back off. I think it stresses them out too much. I mean, if you had something clipped to your face and you're trying to swim around with it, I mean, it's going to bother you.
I have never seen those fish weights that people hook to their fish to keep them upright until I was in Tennessee.
Yeah, the fin weights.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, keep them upright or whatever.
I've went down turning fish loose before when we was releasing them back in the lake and try to actually stack rocks up to where they could swim out if they wanted to. But try to keep them from rolling over because I didn't have a fizzing needle, and I'm not a huge fan for fizzing either. I'd like to figure out how to burp them. There's actually some different things out there. It would be a lot more work. But I'm checking into some stuff. They're fish descending devices.
Really?
It's basically you just hook a fish on a clip. It has a weight, and you drop it down however deep, and just give it a quick jerk, and it's like a clothespin, I guess you would say, that goes on the fin.
Yeah.
You pop it loose, and the fish, they said that air bladder just shrinks back down. They'll take off. Don't even have to stick a needle in them.
Wow. That'd be cool.
I wonder how much that is.
They're not much.
Just getting the fish out to, have to do it and have to chase them around.
Right. You would have to leave a boat in the water and go out and take all the ones that are floating around. But I mean, if that's something we got to do to try to keep these fish alive, by all means, there's probably still plenty of people out there that got their boat in the water by the time.
Oh, yeah.
Somersville, you don't have to go very far to be in deep water.
No, you really don't. Just about.
True. Yeah, I don't think it would take a whole lot, but
that's cool.
I've never heard of it. See? We learn something every time.
That's why we do the podcast.
It is. We learn something all the time. It's really neat.
Like, I knew they made those fish weights. I guess I just never seen a reason or use them or whatever. But when we was in Tennessee and Harry caught that 8-pounder in the national championship, it was on its side because it come out of 26 foot of water. There was a team from Texas that was within talking distance from us. They actually brought some over and let me use them. And it straightened that fish up and kept it alive.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I wonder what happens to them after you take it off.
They just go down to deep water. They try.
Yeah, they can still swim. Yeah, you pop them off and they'll swim back down where they're comfortable. Sometimes I found largemouth at Summersville floating that come up after bait and couldn't get back down.
I think largemouth are a lot easier to fizz than smallmouth.
Yeah, I fizzed them when I fished up at Erie at a tournament, but
yeah, I always carry a fizzing needle. Hate to use them, but sometimes you have to.
Right.
We have a video that we're going to put in right in here somewhere.
I interviewed Dustin at the youth and high school championship and went with him to release the fish. So here is that clip. I am here with Dustin Hollen, the Conservation Director of Bass Nation, West Virginia, and we're getting ready to go release some fish. So I thought we would talk about the process a little bit.
We're hauling our load of fish in our live release tank. We're going to go down to the ramp.
Is there oxygen to this tank? Is it cooled? How does that work?
We have a Piranha system. We went from an oxygen fed tanks to the Cuda system.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
It provides oxygen from the bottom up.
Okay.
And keeps them good, healthy, and breathing right and alive. The main thing.
That's important.
The main thing. Gotta take care of them.
Yeah, the goal of most anglers is to keep their fish alive. I mean, not just, you know, you get penalized. A lot of people don't know that. You get penalized in tournaments if your fish die. You lose weight from your weight.
You get a quarter pound penalty?
Depending on, some tournaments will not let you weigh in a dead fish or call a dead fish. So if you have a fish die, you just basically lose that slot in your live well.
And you cannot weigh big fish, dead fish or big fish.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are penalties, but as a group, anglers do not want to kill a fish at all. And, you know, sometimes they get hooked too deep, sometimes people's live wells malfunction. I mean, things do happen.
Right, mechanical failures. And you can do everything you can. Some of them you just can't. You know, I've hooked fish in, brought them in, and they were dead before they got to the boat.
Yeah.
I can't. It's hard to do something to prevent that.
Unfortunately, one of the bad things that happens, but we all try our best for it not to happen.
Right. We're one of the very few organizations in the whole state that even have a live release tank.
Oh, really? So, what do the rest of them have? Oh, you just take them right to the water. They just carry the
bags back to the water, yeah.
Now, in the bigger tournaments, like national stuff, regional stuff, the live release trailer is a boat.
Right.
That takes the fish far away from the ramp so that none of the anglers competing know where the fish were released.
Right.
So, what are we doing?
So in the back of our tank, we have a sliding door at the very bottom. And we took the rubber door off on the outside. Bo's going to lift the door up. And the fish are going to come shooting out right back in the lake.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
You ready, Bo? Yeah. Open the door. Sounds like it.
I have never seen this before. The fish flying out of the tank. It's pretty impressive because it only takes, a couple of minutes to unload that thing? How long does it take you to empty the tank?
You just saw.
We open the door till it's completely empty about, I'm going to say, less than 2 minutes. Not very long.
Wow.
I'll try to time that next time. That's a good question.
Yeah. Julie said I would just watch it because I guess the length of the video is what it is. So
it's pretty quick.
I know there's a lot of fish flying out of there. I was impressed. I was like, man, but yeah, it's a slick operation though. It really is, which allows folks to have weigh-ins away from the lake if we need to, and keeps the fish alive. There's not the stress of carrying the fish in a bag way down the bank to the lake and all that stuff. Different things happening to fish. You know, fish get beat around, and the less you can have that happen, the better off the fish will be. So it's good to have the tanks.
Less amount of time they're in those bags with that little bit of water to carry them to the tanks. You know, we don't want people holding those bags. I know they're heavy, but you don't want a line of people standing there holding them on the blacktop. It's been baking in the sun all day. that's not good for them. So if they can fill them up and carry them to the holding tanks and get their fish in there, that's just a giant, good, solid treated live well. So
if the anglers treat their live wells in the day, keep them good temperature, then the fish really don't know much of a difference from place to place.
Right. They just get in a bigger house.
Go back home.
And then they go back home.
Then we can do it all over again another day.
Like a giant family reunion.
That's right. So tell us now about Sutton. The year started, and I've promised to interview winners, and I just so happen to have one of the winners on right now. Looky there, the trophy. You got the first one of the new trophies. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, sure did.
Long story short, the first Bass Nation tournament I ever fished was, I think it was 2011. It was at Sutton Lake. Fished with my brother back then. We ended up winning it. Of course, I fell in love with that lake because I won there. I started learning it a lot. This was actually the third Bass Nation event I've won there since 2011.
That's awesome.
I happened to fish a West Virginia Bassin tournament, USA Bassin, West Virginia Bassin, the week before with Mark Moran, and we finished second. So it was a good start. Of course, we found some fish in that tournament that led us to what happened the following weekend. There was more showed up.
That always helps.
Yeah, I was pretty tickled. Me and Brian was actually talking that, we won the team trail a couple years ago and was stoked about that. We was the only team to catch a limit every tournament that year. And we got to talking. We was like, we've never won a buddy trail together or a team tournament like that. That was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And it's going to be the age to fish with me next year. I'm not saying it's our last tournament season together. We'll probably fish some opens and stuff still. It was pretty cool to win one. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially the first one of the year gets the juices flowing, gets things out of the way.
That was a long winter.
Very long winter. I agree with that. Sutton was in good shape that tournament. As far as the water was good, you could actually get there, get up the river.
They've kept that lake up this winter because I guess the drought that was going on last year, they held a little bit more water in there, which, I think ultimately helped. It staged those bait fish in different places. So, but yeah, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah, we caught a lot of fish in that tournament, for Sutton that time of year. Usually Sutton that time of year is feast and famine, but they put out a lot of fish that weekend. It's nice as a tournament organization to get off in a start where a lot of fish are weighed in and everybody's having a good time.
Absolutely.
That was certainly a good start to the year. And then followed up by Stonewall, which I know you had some live well trouble, and that caused you, a big mess because you couldn't call fish after that.
Right. Cost several points too.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that, you're working as hard as you can to try to get 5 fish in there, then start working on bigger fish, most of the time. And we had a limit by 11:30 and before 1 o'clock. I mean, it didn't take long. It seemed like when the sun come up and didn't even, we had both sides full. One side was working, so we couldn't hear the other side wasn't working.
Yeah. Sometimes mechanical failures are part of tournament fishing, but man, they're the most frustrating things. I know that from having to replace my boat motor at Cherokee.
I just dropped my baby off at the doctor today. We'll see what kind of sickness it has, I guess.
Yeah, and it's always something, probably a pump or it could be wiring. It's just usually nothing major when it comes to the live well stuff. But one small thing can cause you a big catastrophe. So yeah, we've had our share of boat problems the last couple of years, especially anytime I go out of state, I think. I lost, let's see, the first one was the truck. When we went to Eufaula, my truck blew up.
Mine's usually a trolling motor when we go to a bigger tournament.
See, that's also just like the irritating. It's always like an irritating.
And practice always goes fine. It's the first morning of competition. Something happens to the trolling motor. And it doesn't work.
What was it on mine? My trolling motor had worked loose, and there's some pin in there that had kind of flipped.
Oh, that was during
Randy helped me fix it. That's the great thing about when you're fishing away and there's guys from your state and people know each other, is there's someone around to help you fix stuff or help you get back on the water. And you can't thank those guys enough for coming together, helping each other out in those times. And I encourage anybody, if you're traveling to another tournament, see who's going to be around from your state. Make sure you stay in touch with those folks and help them if they need help, and they'll help you if you need help. And I promise that's the way it is because it's always been that way for me. But that's part of bass fishing. I think that you got to be resilient or, have crazy sometimes to keep going.
Right. I drove almost 200 miles on 3 wheels before. Yeah. My hot foot froze flat on the floor for 30 miles on Kentucky Lake.
Nice.
Yeah. That's why you check and make sure your kill switch works.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess you could turn the key off, but yeah, fun times.
Yeah. It's always something that, it's amazing how, and again, anytime something's happened with me out of state, I've happened to run across a marina or a boat dealership that's been great about helping me out.
Yeah.
They know these big tournaments are coming in and whatever, and they'll go out of their way to help you as long as you're kind to them. Now, I've seen guys come in that were complete
Right. You're going to do this.
jerks. And, they don't get the same treatment at, what was it, at Pickwick? These guys worked they changed the lure. My boat, I bought all the surface guys pizza for lunch because they worked through lunch. So I didn't think they should have to, pay for lunch. So I bought pizza and had it delivered while they were working on my boat. So little things like that go a long way. And then it's going to help the next guy too, because they're not going to, they're going to think that not everybody they deal with is a jerk. So it's nice to have bass fishermen in the bass fishing industry is pretty good. They really. Summersville's coming up. You gonna whoop up some stuff there again? You think?
I've not done so well at Summersville before. I think I've maybe cashed 1 or 2 checks there ever. It seems it's like I can get. I mean, I fished 1 club tournament in my life there that I had double digit. Weigh in. Other than that, Bo and Hunter, the bag they just weighed in 924 was probably the second biggest bag that ever come out of my boat there.
Well, 924 is a good bag at Summersville.
Well, yeah,
and if you can get double digits, you're doing pretty good.
I feel like it. Yeah, it's hard to beat. Yeah. It's hard to beat the local guys down there all the time. It's a different fishery for me.
That lake fishes different almost every time I'm on there, it feels like.
Yeah.
Because I think, okay, I finally got Summersville figured out, then they don't do what they were doing.
Right.
But it's fun. I like Summersville because you can catch some fish.
Yeah, you can catch a pile of fish. I've caught very few 3-pound smallmouth in my life. Very few. One of them come out of Sutton. Yeah, I've caught like a 298 at Tiger. But there's been just a few.
Dustin will hop off here, but thank you for joining us, and we look forward to talking to Bo soon.
Yeah.
And learning about his journey with the youth and plans for you guys moving forward. I know you mentioned him fishing with you next year. And fishing with my dad was always one of the highlights of fishing for me. And I was lucky enough to have dads and uncles and all those folks to take me fishing. So that's great that you're going to get to do that with your boy.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff. Moments to be treasured for sure. So we look forward to talking to Bo. And
my dad wasn't a big bass fisherman, so to speak, but he liked to catch crappie, and I started fishing crappie tournaments with him when I was a kid. So that kind of put the fuel to the fire at an early age as far as fishing, but fishing for a little bit of cash. When you're a little kid like that, and you show up and you win $20 bill, you're like, holy cow!
Oh yeah, this is the life. I'm going to do this for a living.
Right.
Yes.
So,
100%.
Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time, and hopefully that's soon. We'll get Bo on here and you and talk some youth fishing, boat coaching, and Bo and Dustin. That'll be fun.
All righty.
All right. We'll see you then.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Right.